Welcome to the Two Marketing Moms podcast.
Two women with 50 years plus of marketing
Integrity
experience.
and culture are extremely
You
important.
can still say, I don't know.
Stop multitasking and be present in the
Moms
moment.
have balls, big time.
Welcome to the Two Marketing Moms podcast. We are two women with more than 50 years of marketing and advertising experience between us, and we want to talk about the struggles, the fails, and the wins that we experienced while building our careers, being a boss, juggling work and a home life, and arguably the hardest and yet most fulfilling job, being a mom. This podcast was created for marketing and advertising professionals, especially the up-and-coming marketing stars of the future. We hope these tips, tricks, and advice will help you navigate work and life and get ahead. Welcome to the Two Marketing Moms podcast. Today, we have a fun conversation that Kelly and I are just going to riff about marketing words. Are they buzzy or are they duds? Are they overused? Are they still relevant? And so there you go. That's what we're going to talk about today. I think the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I think it's a fun topic. And in the marketing world, words are our gold. You know, words are so important, and the wrong word can throw you way off. And so I was thinking, what are words that I use that even annoy me, or I think I overuse? And I think what it comes down to is like, a good word is something that someone can take meaning from, who they understand immediately what you're trying to say. And then maybe overused, maybe like bad or even inappropriate sometimes, are just things that like it has too much fluff around it. Like we've taken the icing on the cake and we've just added layers. Like, let's just get down to the real meaning.
Well, what I'm a little anxious about is we have not prepped for this at all, and you have not told me what any of your words are. So I guarantee I've probably used 95% of them in a proposal at one point. So I'm afraid. So
I mean, I'm pretty sure that I've used all of these, right? And I don't think that they're bad. I think that we could make an argument that all of these have a place in marketing, but I do think that sometimes marketers just like they glom onto one word and they just use it for every type of application. And I think what we're trying to say is like, really think about the specific situation where you're using the word.
Well, bring it on so I know what you're talking about.
Here's my favorite one. You told me that you didn't like this. You didn't like me putting this on the list originally.
Oh no.
Was marketing funnel.
Ah, I love the funnel.
I know. I think we all love the funnel, right? Because it's something that we all understand in the industry, right? But do our clients truly understand it? Does it make sense to them when we're like, and here is the marketing funnel, and we will bring people to the top of the funnel and push them all the way down to the bottom? Do they understand that?
Well, it's funny because I actually recently did this with a client, and it's actually no longer the funnel, Julia. It's the flywheel.
The flywheel?
It's the flywheel, because you don't just bring them into the funnel and acquire the customer. You have to continuously, engage them to keep them as a customer. And so what I did with the client is I did the funnel flywheel. Let me explain. I could even show a graphic if I wanted to, but the funnel for this particular client is how are we getting them in through all of our acquisition tactics, and then obviously ultimately how are we converting them and acquiring them. But then once they have the customer experience, that's when they go in the flywheel. How are they making an appointment? How is that experience going? How does the follow-up go? How do they get them to come back? All those sort of things are part of the flywheel aspect, and that's operations within an organization. Advertising and marketing brings them in through the funnel, but operations does the flywheel. My clients seem to really get this, and I was quite proud of. They did, and we actually created objectives for each part of the funnel and then each part of the flywheel for different aspects of people. So Again, if you Google it, they'll say that the funnel is dead and it's now the flywheel. I like both. I think it's the funnel plus the flywheel. And because to me, I'm visual and I can understand that better. And it's everyone understands what the funnel means in terms of how are you bringing people in and at the top. Anyway.
Yes, I love the tofu and the bofu.
Yes, but I never remember what those mean. You referred to that once, and I actually had to Google it. I'm like, oh yeah, top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Okay, now, but I don't think everyone remembers those.
I think the biggest takeaway for this word is that it's still alive in many shapes and sizes. And I think the most important thing that you just said is like your client did understand what you were talking about because you put it in other terms of what are the objectives here? What is the journey, right? You could put journey into that bucket. People overuse the journey, right?
Yes.
But really, what does it come down to? It comes down to how are we getting people from stranger to friend and customer, essentially, right? So like it's up to us to put it into terms that our clients will understand and that they can get behind.
Yes. And I think the reason why I did it that way ultimately, because this client wanted to explain how it's not just about marketing and the entire organization has to be a part of keeping and engaging that customer. And there are different, once the handoff happens from marketing, that experience is a different department and division, and linking the two together is important. And so anyway,
absolutely.
Funnel flywheel.
And actually you can really like you and I both work in nonprofits, and a lot of the times fundraising departments are really working on their own marketing funnel, right? Bringing a prospect in and getting them to that donation phase. But there are a lot of other steps that have to either happen in between or after to keep them engaged. And thinking through that process is why I think we talk a lot about the journey and the marketing funnel, right?
Yes.
So don't just plug and play marketing funnel, customize it to your actual usage.
Correct.
There you go.
Okay. That one still lives to a certain extent.
That one still lives. We love to hate it. Okay. How about this one? Integrated marketing. I feel like this one is just like so old. Like who the bleep is not practicing integrated marketing these days?
The other thing that really digs at me is some agencies position themselves as we're an integrated marketing agency.
And are they made up of people that are nearing their retirement? Because I don't think anybody under the age of, let's say, 40 even knows what that means.
And again, we're all digital. And if we're not all digital,
where are you living?
Yeah. Who name an agency that doesn't do digital? That's a full service agency. We all do digital. So frankly, there shouldn't necessarily be special agencies that are just digital. And what we just talked about is integrated. So don't you want to integrate both? Because there is both. So it makes no sense to me.
You could make the argument that if you were positioning yourself for that very senior kind of old school, maybe a little stodgy like client, that you would want to use integrated or digital, because that is the type of like they came up in their career during that time when digital was this separate thing.
Yeah, perhaps.
And, it was a lot of print. And so to have integrated was, a cool thing. But I mean, I think in general, this is like, that is just people stop.
Let's just bring in multi-channel.
Yeah. What is multi-channel? I mean,
it's the same as integrated, is it not?
If you're only using one channel these days, then you really must really know your audience very well.
Yes.
Because that just seems silly to me. Okay, here's the next one. I use this. This is one of my power words. Alignment.
I hate that.
And every time I say it, sometimes I feel a little silly, but like, I love that word. I love the fact that like we can align things and put them on the same page instead of, hey, let's do a piece of marketing over here at a different time and another thing over here. And I tend to encounter situations where people are doing that. So then I say, let us align.
I think that word should only be used with my chiropractor.
Well, here's another word that could be the same as alignment is synergy.
Oh, yes.
I don't use that
Yes.
one too much, but maybe I do sometimes. I don't know. I think like, is that salesy? What's your opinion, Kelly?
Yeah, it's psychobabble.
Okay. So we should stay away from
Well,
alignment
synergy is
or
all about
or synergy.
relationship is all about, are we vibing? Do we have the same, do we understand each other?
Or
Do
it could
we
be
have
like the
chemistry?
synergy between marketing materials or messaging.
I'm sure I've used it. Let's just say.
Okay, here's the one that I think we can totally put to bed
Okay.
is pivot.
I love pivoting. But you're right. We're done.
I don't
with the
think you
pivot.
loved pivoting in like May
moment.
of 2020.
I didn't love pivoting in 2020. No, but I loved the word at the moment because it meant so much. It doesn't mean anything anymore because we're all about the whole world is all about the pivot. Change happens every day.
I think we will be forever. Right.
Yes.
And so therefore I think people will shy away from using this word because we did overuse it. And then it will slowly creep back into our vocabulary because that's the new world.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's all about, can you handle change? And can you handle all the changes, media habit changes? I mean, my goodness, think about the last 2 years, not just with COVID and the war in Ukraine. And I mean, there's like so many different things that are impacting us in so many different ways that are also impacting our clients. So adapting to change is just part of our job. But yeah, pivot's probably got to go to bed.
And also, I think this word has absolutely been already put to bed, but I absolutely hated it, but yet used it, was new normal. Like we're over it. We are fully over the new normal. We're into a whole new normal and the normal will change.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you declare new normal, it's changed already.
Yes. Okay, here is a very controversial one. Award winning. And normally this is like agency speak when we try to market ourselves. But I absolutely, if I had a bucket here, I would throw award winning in it and pour gasoline and throw in a match. Because I encounter agency partners so often through my work, and every one of their freaking websites says that they are award winning. So what does that mean?
Well, and the truth of it is that you have to pay to win those awards. You don't just get them because your creative's good. You've got to submit them and you've got to pay to submit them. And so it's out of those people that actually paid to submit. So anyone can win an award technically as long as you submit. Now, that's a qualification. Clients want award winning, but it's not a differentiator.
Right. If it's the first word on your site, like we are an award-winning agency, like you've got to go back to the drawing board. Because anybody could say that. That is not should never be part of your USP.
Agreed.
And it turns me off so much. obviously I'm not a client, but I just think that there are better ways to differentiate yourself, build credibility, and show that you're awesome.
Agreed.
Okay. Oh, I think we've talked about this one before, Kelly. Think outside the box.
I like that one. I don't know. I like that one.
I try to stay away from it. Honestly, I think I've done a pretty good job of eradicating it from my my vocab.
Well, again, that's why you hire agencies. That's what we're supposed to do.
Right. And
so sometimes clients will come and say, let's think outside the box. So what does that mean? Okay, not just TV, not just radio. Does that mean experiential? And it's kind of good to hear that, because then that means that they're open to new and interesting ideas if it comes from a client.
Yes. And if you're talking about thinking outside of the box in terms of messaging and tone, that's or creative, like that's a far scarier place for a client to be, because you're really probably going to be taking a huge chance, which might be uncomfortable. Yeah. And how much are they into thinking outside of the box? Also, what's in the box? Like, could you define it? I think we talk a lot about like, let's think outside the box, but like, do we ever define what the parameters of the box are? No. What are the lines that we're tired of being in? Has anyone ever done that? Or do we just use it as like a phrase, like to seem like we're going to live on the edge? We're going to think outside the box.
Or we're an agency that thinks outside the box.
Oh gosh. Put that in the same category as award winning. That should not be part of your USP.
Exactly. Or integrated.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Multi-channel. So now we're gonna have to go back and look at my website to see if I have any of these words in there.
We are an award-winning integrated digital marketing agency that thinks outside of the box when working on the marketing funnel. What did that even mean?
Yes, that's a good one.
Okay. All right. Here's one that's so crazy. I never even thought about this, but I think we use them. I use them maybe occasionally. Pain point or sweet spot. Do you feel like those are words for the bedroom? Or are they appropriate for work?
Gosh, that's a good one. Sweet spot, maybe. It's not appropriate for work. I agree. Pain points is used and overused.
I agree. Like, this is one of those words that is maybe jargony, but also I think spurs a lot of good conversation. Like when you talk about the pain points of your customer and what you're trying to solve, you really can dive deep into good solutions. Like, what should we say, or what kind of creative would really speak to that person because they are feeling that pain?
Well, again, it's got to be research backed. I mean, it can't, a lot of times agencies are like, well, we think these are their pain points based on our perceptions, but we have no idea because the client's never done any research or we've never done any research. So if those are research backed, then they make sense. And then you have a solution to reach that pain point. I think that one's still viable. You can take sweet spot and
Kelly will never use that again. I have ruined it for her.
You have. Actually, I just visualize sweet spot. You know, the concentric 3 circles where you have the thing in the center? That's the sweet spot.
Listen, if you have that type of
that in a presentation,
right? If you have that type of relationship with your client, go for the sweet spot.
Moving on.
Okay, here's one that, I mean, is probably out of all of these words, the most overused word in the nonprofit and cause space, which is the word impactful.
Yeah. Or just impact.
Yeah. The word impact.
Are you
demonstrating? I don't know how to get away from it though. I don't know how to get away from it though.
I feel like that's a keeper. I feel like it's the only way that you can explain what is the impact that this nonprofit has on its constituents, on, whoever it's supporting. Because you do have to get clients to think about that, because the impact is the ultimate thing that we're driving for in nonprofits. So there's no other better word that
I'm going to start a LinkedIn poll on my personal LinkedIn page to ask people what their alternatives are to the word impact. Obviously, if you're storytelling, you don't want to use the word impact. You want to let the story sell itself.
It's a marketing word. It's not something we use it's an internal creative brief word. It's not a word that you use.
Does it have a place in your digital marketing, in your social marketing? What do you think?
Well, of course, if you're integrated and multi-channel, I mean, you can demonstrate impact in any sort of media, right? It's a matter of how you do it.
Yes.
And then that leads to the other, how are you demonstrating impact? So are you using stats and numbers? Are you using emotion? There's many different ways to do that.
I think if you're in other industries, you could probably find other words very similar to impact that are overused, that are just so industry specific, like this is for nonprofits, for sure.
Yes.
Okay. How about the word value add?
Media buyers have been using that since the 60s.
I know, but does it even have a place today in the year 2022?
It does, and I'll tell you why. Because when of course, I go into sales mode, right? When we develop a media plan, or anyone develops a media plan, you want to get value add for your client. So you're negotiating XYZ off rate card, right? And if you negotiate off rate card, maybe that's part of value add. But then there's also, okay, will you give us free impressions on your digital for buying print? That's value add. So the clients like getting value add because it just demonstrates that you're giving them a deal.
But is it too salesy?
I'm keeping it.
Okay. So Kelly, her bottom line is value add. It's salesy, but it works and clients like it.
Clients like it.
There you go. I am Judge Judy. The gavel is over on that one. Okay. How about this one? Branding.
I love branding. What do you mean?
I mean, do you think it's an overused buzzword for marketing? I mean, what is branding? The word branding could have like 150 definitions, right? And people talk about how branding is so valuable and branding is, what brings, a client value over time. And I don't know. Is branding just overused, or maybe not used in the right way?
I think it's misunderstood. And I think it's so misunderstood that I actually did an infographic on it recently with our creative director, Eva Day. And it's on our website, williamswoodall.com, under our nonprofit marketing section. If you want to check it out, there's a whole infographic on what is a brand, what is branding, and why is branding important. The reason why I did it is because I was asked in the last couple of years multiple times in a pitch situation to answer that question. What is branding? And the reason why is because board members frequently don't really understand what it means. And a lot of times, they're trying to either rebrand or change their name or change the positioning, and they didn't understand. And that's the other part of it, is the difference between a rebrand and a brand refresh. A lot of clients don't really understand that. So a refresh is a makeover, right? A rebrand is like a change of positioning, or you're going to new markets, that sort of thing. So I think it's misunderstood is what I think. And not, and that's why there's some education that needs to happen.
But what about branding when you're looking at a piece of creative and you're like, is this in our branding style? Or when you're thinking about a partnership and you're like, is this good for our branding?
Julia, this is
Giving
what
you the
we
hard
do.
questions. I feel like our listeners want, like, this is good to know.
I love branding.
Okay.
I think even you and I think about that, about what works for 5-1s versus Williams Whittle versus two marketing moms. We have 3 brands that we're working with, right? Between us. And there's synergies between them, but they're 3 separate brands.
Did
And
you just say synergies? And did you just define the sweet spot of our brand?
Okay, I'll shut up now. I'm done.
I think where this word becomes problematic is when the brand or the branding you're talking about is not defined, right? So like if you're like looking at a piece of creative and you're thinking, is this in our branding style? Well, define that, go deeper, like if you're presenting to a client and they're like, well, is this our branding? Make sure that you have the bullet points of, yes, this I'm about to say it, this aligns with our brand because it's has this tone, or it has this message, or it has this visual component that is important for us,
which is usually written generally out in a brand standards guide, correct?
You would hope.
Yeah.
You would hope that everyone is on the same page about that.
So misunderstood. I'm going to put that into under misunderstood.
Okay. Branding misunderstood. Okay.
Yes.
How about this one? Bandwidth. I think this is more of an internal word, maybe not something we use in marketing, but I think maybe marketing people use it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we like using words for multiple different purposes, right? I mean, I only say bandwidth when I'm trying to be an a-hole. Like if I'm like, I really don't have bandwidth for that. Oh, wow. I hope no client ever hears this because I literally copped to it.
It's true. It's absolutely true. It's a word. It's a very descriptive word, like synergy, that it's a nice way of pushing back. Like, I don't have the time to do that right now.
And it's jargon, right? It is totally.
But it sounds great. I'm going to keep that one.
Right. It's jargon because we are trying to, it's like a nice, nasty.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We agree on that one. Okay. I got 2 more. This one is like a dual word. Innovative or cutting edge. Overused or still relevant. I am going to, my opinion is that it's still relevant, but you've got to, it's like chili powder. You've got to use it with care and not all the time. And I really want to encourage people to find more descriptive options.
I feel like that. I mean, innovative is one thing. Cutting edge is, I don't know that I've rarely, if ever, used that, because it's hard to find something that's cutting edge, let alone call it cutting edge.
It's true.
Innovative is a little different than cutting edge. I wouldn't necessarily put them in the same bucket.
Oh, okay.
All clients would love to be able to say that their marketing is innovative, their product is innovative. That's more nuanced marketing speak, I guess.
Ooh, so it maybe is on the borderline of jargon.
It is. And I think I still want to keep it. But cutting edge, it's really got to be technologically different. It's got to have something behind it.
Yeah. You can't be like the next new notepad and be cutting edge. Let's like be real with yourself.
Yeah.
Cutting edge has a very specific use.
Uber was cutting edge at the time, right?
Yeah.
And ride sharing. Airbnb was cutting edge at the time. I mean, there's a lot of things that Facebook.
So maybe you can only be cutting edge for a specific time period too.
That's true, because obviously you get Me Too people as soon as you launch.
Yep, totally. Okay, last word is, this goes right back to the marketing funnel. Top of mind. And I say this a lot. But I'm not going to give this one up. I use it a lot. I know it's probably overused, but I mean, it goes a long way. Like, it is an absolute tool to be able to use a marketing thing, whatever it is, to keep your product, service, cause, whatever, top of mind.
I'm going to link it back to branding, because frequently the customer's first perception of a brand is what the words and the attributes that are top of mind.
Yep.
And that is part of a brand and branding. So
okay.
Yeah, let's keep that one.
We're going to keep it. Okay. Well, that was my list, Kelly. I'm sure if you Googled, you would find lists of hundreds of words that would fall into the marketing overused words. I think the biggest takeaway people should take, or they should take away from this episode, is just to think about what you're saying.
Or think outside the box. Thanks. That was fun.
All right. Bye, everyone.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a podcast review or send us a message at twomarketingmoms.com. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time.